and welcome to August 15th school committee meeting. It is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Just a reminder for everyone that we are being recorded for future rebroadcast, but we're not being broadcast live tonight. Just a couple issues that will be straightened out by our next meeting. We will please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, no student representative. We're giving the summer off, apparently. Public comment? I don't see anybody actually through the public here. You guys are all, we have some public here.
Well,
Any public comment? You here for anything other than what's on the agenda? Or we're good? All right, we're good to go. So we're going to move on. Any old business you want to cover? Any new business not on the agenda anybody wants to cover? No. Well, move on to Mr. Main's
okay,
report.
thank you very much. A couple of things that are not on your agenda, but a couple of things that have come up the last couple of days, so to share with you. First of all, tomorrow is our new teacher orientation at 9 o'clock here in room C208, so we'll be welcoming most of the new staff that we've hired. Some are away and couldn't make it tomorrow, but we have most of the staff coming in tomorrow. That's an annual activity, so we welcome the new teachers in tomorrow. Update on the closet and the Boosters concession stand has been repaired. Blue board has been put in. It has been painted. Everything has been put back. The shelving is back in the supply closet. The stuff that was in the concession stand is back in there. It's obviously going to need to be straightened out again, but everything is in there. And the damaged things, Jeff has inventories, so we'll follow up.
Did we ever get a definitive answer on cause?
Apparently that there's a pipe in there, They believe it backed up and flooded. Because it just couldn't handle
Well,
the
just because of
water.
the heavy rains. I know
Yeah.
we've had heavy rain since then too, as it
Right.
hasn't occurred, so. Okay. It's been a tough summer.
Well, it's a good storm now. That being said, back for another cameo appearance is the middle school main entrance. We had some problems with the main entrance to the building at the elementary school. Again, due to the heavy rains, Jeff and Courtney have been dealing with that. Right now, it's going to be partitioned off for the time being. There are service pro.
Middle school or elementary?
Service master.
Middle school?
Elementary school.
Elementary school.
Yeah. So that's been, it's never been right since they built it. So it's trying out now. If we closed it off, they'll assess it. At some point, hopefully, we can resolve that dilemma, because it's every time we get a really bad storm.
But the middle school issue from last year, that's been fixed and no recurrence of that. Was the issue caused with the drainage that was causing some?
At the
middle
school in the entryway, yeah, no, that's all resolved.
Yeah, and no recurrence.
No recurrence from
Okay,
that as
okay.
well. Actually, I was funny, I was walking in today and I was thinking about that.
Yeah, okay.
Just how, it just doesn't make much sense the way they originally designed it, and it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at least it's working now at this point.
Thank you.
And the fact that we moved on Jimmy off the just a quick update on school choice. I know that I was supposed to get back to you. Those students that we were able to accommodate have been notified. Those students that we were not able to accommodate because classes being closed have been notified. As far as I understand, there might be a few that are waiting on the letters, but I believe most everybody has been notified. And I don't believe that at this point we have anything waiting in advance. I think everything has been addressed that could be addressed. So the numbers seem to be okay. So that's where we are with school choices right now.
Roughly how many have you turned away? Less than a handful?
I would say probably less than a handful. Yeah. We did meet today, Josh Romano, Desi Vega, myself, and two representatives from the Educational Alliance. So just a quick update on that. It was just a brief meeting today, a little bit on the stuff that they're going to be doing for us in September and October, a little bit of work around data collection and so forth. Josh has all the information. That's the initial start of this whole process. One thing that I would share is, and Josh and I and Desi talked a little bit about it, is the more I think about it, the more convinced I am that the early college credits is a winner for us. But more importantly, if we can, and we talked about it today, is to try to get, I tried to pin it down for a date, but you wouldn't agree with a date because that means he's giving me information he doesn't want to give me, rather charge me for it. But we want to really get going with this because in the Valley, you're just continuing to hear of the impact of students who are leaving the Valley to go to Norfolk Aggie and the financial impacts that it has upon the area. I think it's a niche for us. I'm optimistic. I know there's a lot of work ahead for Josh and Desi and for everybody here at the high school, but I think that if we can get this going, I think it's going to be a winner for us.
I meant to reach out to you earlier, but the email from Matt, he seemed to indicate that he heard that maybe Sutton was looking into something, or maybe they're interested in what we're doing.
They're interested, I think they're interested in joining, if we can make this happen, I think they're interested in having their
On the
students
agriculture
here.
end.
Same thing with Uxbridge and Blackstone Millville in Northbridge and Mendon up that we've heard from. So that's why I'm saying, I think, we've got the initial starts on it. There's no question it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm really optimistic that it'll be a big win for us. At your place, you should have received an invitation, I believe it was an invitation to opening day. I didn't get a chance to look at it, and my secretary was gone when I came back into the office. So the opening day is a little bit different this year. You're going to see that the teachers are reporting to their specific buildings for the meeting at 8 o'clock. We will get together for an all-district meeting at 10 o'clock, 10 to 12. And the reason for that is that we have arranged to have a keynote speaker or a guest speaker coming to present to the staff, and I think it's an important one. I don't want to spoil the surprise, so I won't let you know, but I think you'll be, if you're able to attend, and I hope you will be, I think you'll be impressed that we were able to secure this individual to come in and speak to us for open. So that is anticipated to be at 10:30. So we'll do the introductory stuff at 10.
Yeah, so it states that you're at 8:30 to 9:30 in the auditorium.
Is that what you put out there?
Yes, so.
Then you might want to change those letters.
Yeah, so I don't know who else put the letters, Board of Selectmen and, Chief.
I think it's only you, because she gave me a handful of them, she mailed them all out.
The rest are all addressed on here, so we might want to.
Okay, I'll have her updated.
So 10 o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock. I'll make sure she reaches out and gets it all correct. 10 o'clock is the all-district meeting. And each building will be meeting from 8 to 9:45, then they'll be arriving up here for 10 o'clock.
And that'll be about an hour,
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, because we'll cover civil rights, first aid, some information on the scourge right now, the vaping and jewels and so forth, and civil rights, bullying, special education, and so that'll all be in there. I'll do a presentation, we'll have a guest speaker, and so it'll run about 2 hours. But so please plan to join us for that. I think it'll be good. So new hires at your place. I quickly updated this today before we came up. It's been fast and furious. So I'll go through this real quickly with you. At the Douglas Primary, we have hired Catherine Matchett from Northbridge. She will be a grade 1 classroom teacher. Attended Worcester State University for a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Ed and Sociology in 2015. Is enrolled right now at AIC in a master's program with moderate disabilities. She has worked in the district for 3 years as a paraprofessional at the primary school, and she did her student teaching in an elementary school in Worcester. So she is in the district, has been in the district, and she'll be now taking over her own classroom.
Did you get someone retired there or someone on the grade?
Someone retired at another building, transfer. She came in and took the place of the person who transferred. Douglas Elementary School, Jocelyn Blessing is the new school counselor. She's from Grafton. She attended Worcester State as well. She has a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. She just completed her master's degree in clinical counseling and psychology at Assumption back in 2017. Last year she worked as a behavioral specialist at the Neary Elementary School in Southborough, and she did her internship in Sutton. So she'll be joining us as the school counselor at the elementary school. At the middle school, today, Mr. Delane met with a Matthew Cole from Sturbridge. He will be filling in as a long-term science substitute. Matthew attended Colby Sawyer, graduated in 2011 with a Bachelor of Science in Sports Management. He is presently enrolled and is extremely close to completion with his Master's in Applied Exercise Sciences at Springfield. He has worked as a substitute in Bellingham Public Schools, and he'll be coming in for the initial long-term sub for,
This is Christian.
for how long do you know?
2 months.
2 months. 2 months, thank you. At the high school, Mr. Romano has met with and hired Catherine Balo from Douglas. She will be filling the librarian position. She also went to Worcester State. She has her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration back in 2010. She is presently enrolled with a December 2019 completion date in a Master's in Library Media Studies. She has worked as the library media specialist 5 years, but really 3 years as a full-time at BBT for their library. She also has served as an assistant in the Douglas Public Library. She's a Douglas resident. And she has also been a volunteer girls softball, assistant softball coach with John Furno at the high school for quite a number of years. So we're happy to have her on board. Today we finalized with our biology teacher, Alexandra Romano, resigned her position. She was living in Westerly, Rhode Island, decided to look for a job in Westerly. She found a job, so we have hired Rebecca Chapman. She lives in Waltham. She is a graduate of Framingham State, Bachelor of Science in Biology, Secondary Education in 2014. She is presently enrolled in AIC's Master in Science Technology Teaching. She has worked for a year in Chelsea, and prior to that she worked for a year and a half in Lexington as a long-term sub, 2 different stints as a long-term sub at Lexington. And she did her student teaching at North. And then lastly, the adjustment counselor is Lindsay Poulin. She is from Charlton. She will be serving as the adjustment counselor. She also is a Westfield State graduate. She has a Bachelor of Science in Social Work and in Writing in 2014. She just recently completed her Master's in Social Work and Counseling at the University of New England. And she has worked at the Devereaux School and also the Key program. And last year she did her internship at Worcester North High School. So those are the new hires, and I believe we tentatively have a possible, haven't confirmed, but we believe we had a business teacher. Gentleman's name is William Hilden. I didn't bring all the information, but Josh was good enough to give me this information that he is replacing Lynn Gaskell, who is retiring at the end of September, has an MBA from Suffolk University and a bachelor's from Keene State. Has worked at State Street for 15 years and is looking to change and get into the education field. Has subbed in Douglas, has subbed in a few other places as well. So hopefully we'll finalize that very, very soon.
He's on vacation right now. On the library position, is that a combined position?
It is, Josh. Can you maybe articulate that besides?
So she's going to do 2 technology classes, and she's a former student of Ed LaChapelle's, so she's taken the courses before, so she, I think we can set her up for some success. And she worked with a lot of technology when she was at BBT. She's also going to supervise like the peer tutoring program. She had a lot of experience doing that at BBT as well, and she's going to run a section of the secret project. So she's doing a little bit of everything. Because the volunteers will be out, we don't have to have her on Focus Browns, I don't think. She's doing a little bit of everything.
So those are the new hires. If I could extend a thank you to Team Rubicon, who was here in town. They did stay here at the high school. Thank yous obviously go out to Jeff and the custodians, but also to Josh for hosting them, as well as obviously Chief Vincent, the work that the fire department did with them, providing them with meals and so forth. Certainly a wonderful thing for them to have come out here and helped out Douglas in need. And I think they have pulled up stakes officially at this point completely. I think they were looking to maybe possibly use this again as a staging area. I think they were going to try that Webster, but I don't know if that worked out.
I think they set up.
Yeah, they did.
They set up
Yeah, they
Webster.
did. They went on to Webster, they said.
So they did a lot of work, and obviously grateful for that. And then if I could extend heartfelt appreciation to the volunteers we had, student volunteers we had, who were working with, I think it was probably a week, maybe 4 days.
4 days here.
On property and helping out Jeff Collette and Dave Pope on the grounds outside. They were volunteering out of Children's Haven, as well as the good people at the River Church up the street, worked it all out, and they did a lot of good work, very helpful. We can't say how appreciative we are of the work that they did.
Obviously, it's so good.
I was just gonna say,
And the worst-
hot and humid.
I mean, it was.
Hot
It always is.
And they were, I mean, they were weeding, they were picking up piles, brush, and spreading mulch and things like that. So it was, but they did a great job, really great kids too, and we're really grateful for what they did, so I want to publicly acknowledge them. And then lastly, if I could ask Mr. Bell to join us at the head table. I'd like to introduce to the committee, as well as to the town of Douglas, our new elementary school principal, Jonathan Bell. Jonathan is joining us from, how do you, is it Oleath?
Olathe.
That's what I said, Oleath, Kansas. By way of Medfield, Massachusetts. So Jonathan was in Medfield up until his junior year in high school, when he moved to Missouri. Went to school in Kansas, got a job right out of Kansas, met somebody, got married, had 4 children, which I believe is, if I might be wrong, but I believe it's 2468. Or maybe
Just
1.5, close to 2.
3.5, yeah.
Okay, so pretty close to 2468, all boys. They've been here. As I mentioned to you, when it came time, Neely was chairing the committee, when it came time for Jonathan to do his Skype interview, he drove just down the street from Niagara Falls and arrived in time to do his interview, so that was obviously well appreciated. 8 years as a 4th grade teacher.
Correct, yeah.
And 5 years as an elementary school principal at the Ravenwood Elementary School. With a lot, and I presented a lot of this information at the last meeting. As I said, he's married. He and I are going to be neighbors, about 0.8 of a mile away from each other. He's going to be living in Medfield, Medfield and Mendon, once the house is finished. And right now,
Where do you live?
yeah, he's going to be really pushing for that. I know that he's going to go shake the trees because it's not going as quickly as we would like it to be going. His wife actually is a teacher as well, and she has landed a position in Bellingham as a Spanish teacher at the high school, so we're happy about that. So I don't know how he did it, but he did it, and he also got some good news today that it looks like he's closing on his house in Kansas. One less thing to worry about in his life, so he can settle into taking care of business at hand. So I introduce Mr. Jonathan Bell, who is our new elementary school principal.
Welcome.
So he's all yours if you have some questions, but Jonathan, by all means, the floor is yours if there's things that you would like to share with us as well.
I'm just so excited to be in Douglas, being back in New England, small towns. I was in a large school district with about 30,000 kids, and they did great things for kids, but it just didn't feel like home. Growing up in Medfield, going all the way through school, and being with a class of 150 kids that I knew from 2nd grade all the way up, I'm excited to be a part of that kind of system again. So it feels like home again. It doesn't. We're still getting used to our surroundings and how to get around town and everything, but we're excited to be here. And I can't wait to meet the kids on opening day and get to know everybody and start making an impact in the community.
He's hit the ground running. I mean, it's been fast and furious since he's gotten here, so I'm sure it will continue to be. And we're really excited. I think it's going to be a good fit. He has had an opportunity to meet with a number of the teachers. I know that him coming in. We did do Neely set up a meet and greet, coffee type of thing, and had a pretty good turnout for that, and an opportunity for him to meet a lot of the teachers at that. Him and I have already sat for a couple of interesting meetings already, and that's gone pretty well, and I think that people are on board and are looking forward to him taking the reins. It will be here in a week, and before you know it, it'll all be real. So very much excited about having him here. It's an interesting story because I just out of the clear blue, not too many people apply for teaching a principal position from Kansas in Douglas. So I gave him a call and I read his cover letter and I made a call and I said, Neely, you got to reach out to Jonathan. Let's see if we can't, do a Skype interview and just see what we have here. And I'm glad I made the call. I'm sure that the community is going to be glad that I made the phone call and that we have brought you on board. Thank you.
Welcome.
Have a great year.
Thank you.
And that is everything that I have.
Excellent. Moving along here. All right. School subcommittee, subcommittee report, so that's up to me. So, at least you'll have this next time. Accounts payable, so we had, since the last meeting, 3 sets of accounts payables that I had signed off on, and actually Lisa was with me. And you've had one since then too? Okay, so, I thought I signed off on 3. So is yours here? These all seem pretty, I think these were all ones I signed.
Yeah, the 92,000.
So I had 3 sets of warrants. One was 4 batches for $4,027.42. These were all kind of closing out the year, so some miscellaneous stuff here. Another one, warrant dates of June 30th, 16 batches for $278,673.01. And then one on 8/2, or dated 8/2, on 7 batches for a total of $19,551.46.
Yep.
Is that the one you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I thought, okay, maybe not. I thought I did 3 that one day, maybe not. So that's that, and we'll close out, and we'll hear more from you about year-end close and all that. All right.
What was that?
All right, that's all I have for that. Any questions, details here? So we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have a couple sets of minutes. I do have an update on one of them. So we have minutes from July 17th. That was our joint school committee meeting to have Lisa appointed to her position here with us. So that one looks pretty clean to make a very short meeting. So please, yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve school committee meeting minutes for July 17, 2018.
Motion from Jillian,
Second.
second from Kelly. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. So on the July 18th meeting, the very next night, this is when we did our reorganization and our assignment subcommittees. I recall that we had nominated and selected Lisa to also be on the budget subcommittee with me. And that is not represented here in the minutes. So that was the only change that I had, so that would be an addition. Negotiations is on here, it's just me, and that's how we left that night, that's fine. We said we would address that, an additional person there as needed. But I think we all remember nominating Lisa there, so it's just not represented in the minutes, so we have to have that added here. I'm not sure who nominated her and who seconded it, but she was definitely selected.
that night, so
So we'll update the minutes to say that Jillian nominated Lisa and that Kelly seconded it, and that we unanimously voted in favor of having Lisa on the budget subcommittee. So if,
I'll make a motion to approve school committee meeting minutes for July 18, 2018 as amended.
second, motion by Jillian, second by Lisa, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Excellent. Okay, we're going to move back to you guys for some staffing discussions.
Okay, so this is Eric. So Sue, are you coming in as well? I will be the chair. I can get it.
We got it.
We asked, 2 people
Together?
asked, and I wasn't sure.
Let's do it
I was
together.
wrong on both accounts.
Thank you, sir. Hi, everyone. Okay, so over the summer, it's been a very busy summer. And we had a lot of kids moving. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the primary school, with elementary and middle school, and do it that way. So the first thing that we're going to do is start with a student at the primary school. The student attends Douglas Primary School and currently has a .3 full-time one-to-one paraprofessional. The student's educational team made the decision through a team meeting that the student requires 3 full days of pre-K, 3 days weekly, as compared to 3 half-days, 3 days weekly, in order to access the curriculum. This will be an increase of 0.3 FTE paraprofessional position. Does that make sense? That's a very confusing concept. What I do want to say about that is a lot was taken into consideration, formal and informal assessment as well as observation. At the elementary school, we have a student who has been a resident of Douglas, but with school choice in attending Northbridge Public Schools. The choice was made, I'm gonna have to put this in here, I'm sorry. The choice was made for the student to be enrolled at Douglas Elementary School. The student does have intensive special needs, I can't get into the details of that, but I can say that much, and has a full-time ABA on his garner. Okay. We have another student who has moved to Douglas from Georgia. The student has been homeschooled but had an IEP. The student is profoundly disabled. What we did for the student, so let me explain this to you. When a student is homeschooled, often what happens is there's testing that will occur, and they may or may not have an IEP. This family chose to have an IEP, but at the same time, there was no support staff on that IEP because they were homeschooled. We could see through meeting the student that due to disabilities, the student could potentially require an ABA. Sky Wanda, who happens to be here tonight, her and I did assessment on the student. We did assessment in all 4 areas, and it was determined that in order for the student to access any curriculum, the student required an ABA.
And to be safe.
And to be safe. At the middle school, we had a student that participated in a specialized setting for a large portion of the spring. Due to the student's behaviors and social emotional weaknesses, when not monitored by a one-to-one ABA, the team determined that the student requires a 1.0 ABA for the school year coming. There was also input from clinical professionals regarding the situation. It's still beginning of this week, but him and I had multiple conversations with clinical professionals to, first of all, make sure that the student was safe to be in a public school environment, which at this time it appears so, but at the same time, the student would require assistance. We have another student at the middle school. The students team decided that due to the increase of behaviors, which were consistent for 1 year, as outlined by informal and formal data, the student requires a full-time ABA as opposed to the one-to-one paraprofessional that the student is currently serviced by. This IEP was not signed until almost the last day of school, so that's why I'm coming to you. And at the high school, we had another move-in. We had a student move from Bellingham. The student has intensive special needs and has a full-time one-to-one ABA on their current school year. So now I return to Mrs. Keegan for the financial impact of these positions.
The estimated cost for the 4 new ABAs and the 1.3 additional FTE increase for the paraprofessional, and a change in status, because it won't be a new position for one of them. It will be just a change in status from the paraprofessional to the ABA. A total overall is $114,000. These positions can be accommodated in the circuit breaker revolving fund at this time. The carryover balance in the circuit breaker account is $1,094,727.76, with the estimated June 30th, 2019 fund balance at this time. Prior to this expenditure is $827,423. So that's after reconciling the books, the carryover balance, and also incorporating what we're utilizing, the $1.4 million and the additional $111,312, I believe it was, to try to, maintain our FY19 general fund budget. So that's after taking all of that into consideration.
I think it would be a good idea to remind the public that these are positions that we are legally.
So what I'd like to do a couple of things. I would like to remind the public that anytime a student moves into the school district is responsible to really represent their service delivery grid as it is. The only way that you would not represent the grid is if you did formal assessment and you found that the services that are on the grid are no longer being necessary. I personally, as well as Laura, we've had the opportunity to meet these kids. And I can tell you with confidence that these students do need these services. However, in saying this, these are a lot of positions and a lot of positions that we do not anticipate. So I think what would be a good idea for the public, a good idea for everybody that's working in the district, a good idea for you, is to provide you with some data. Because we're seeing an increase in our special education population. We're seeing an increase in our 504 population. We're seeing an increase in the kids moving in the given specialized programs.
Sorry, that's a 504.
504 is an accommodation plan. It's a general education accommodation plan, but for students who do have some sort of disability. So because we're seeing an increase in all of these areas, I think it makes sense to show some trend analysis and show you, okay, this is where we were, this is where we thought we would be, this is where we are at this point. Show the trends over the years, show how this is saving our district placements, and show how we're also honoring the needs of state students and maintaining our programs responsibly.
So the move-ins is obviously something that you could not possibly anticipate. And we still have a week before the school year begins. I wouldn't be surprised if on Monday, other students walk through the door from all different grades and so forth. So it just always the way it happens. And again, they've done the assessments. There's clearly a need. It's something that we have to address in order for them to be able to deal with the curriculum, get the supports that they need to be successful in the school. So.
The other thing I do want to say is, this is outside of the students that have moved in. Again, we have to honor the service delivery rates. What we do on really a bi-monthly basis is we do an analysis of the students, where they are, their data, do they still require the level of service that they have as far as staffing like that. And at this point, you know, where the students fall and where our staffing falls is they're parallel to each other. So we're just plugging away and
I'd also like to add, for everybody here and for the public, remind everyone, the whole purpose of circuit breaker funds is, and it can only be used for special education. For anything for special education related, that's tuition typically, or it would be, paraprofessionals, ABAs, cannot be used for special ed transportation. And that's why we work so hard to maintain a good balance. We always look prospectively. We always look prospectively, and we think very carefully about what we carry forward and what we utilize within our current budget so that we can have some funds available to deal with things that do come up during the subsequent fiscal year. And also, that's why I also put on my sheet, which I'll be going over earlier, I added that extra line as kind of like a contingency for unanticipated tuitions or paras or ABAs. We kind of put a figure there when we meet and kind of discuss what we think are some red flags. And then I have a following, a kind of a fund balance line, just to kind of show again that we're putting a lot of thought into looking at the funding aspect of it. And we look, at the history trend, which I have many years here, the history trend, and we also look very carefully prospectively as well. So just want to remind everybody of that as well.
And you talked a little bit about looking at trends over the last X number of years, trying to get together some of that data
I think what would make
for
sense.
another meeting. Okay.
I think, I don't know if we're having a meeting next week, but if the first meeting once we get back to school, I think that would be great, because we will, if any other students move in, which trends tell us that students will. So if any other students move in, that's going to give us the correct data, and that will allow us for an accurate report.
We need the right number of years for that. It's 5?
Yeah, I was thinking 5 or
Others that
6.
are-
I'm thinking 5 or 6. About 6 years ago is when we started seeing the trend of social emotional weaknesses really keeping into public schools. And I think that that's contributed to a lot. Within our development programs, but also the addition of the kids within the district. So I'd say 6 years, I'd like to go back.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of 4 ABAs, an increase of 0.3 full-time FTE to a primary school paraprofessional, and a change in status from a 1.0 FTE middle school paraprofessional position to an ABA position for an estimated total cost of $114,000 to be funded from the circuit breaker revolving fund.
Motion by Jillian, second. Second from Lisa. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neely and Laura, for your work, and Scott for helping out as well. Doing the same thing. And I should echo, I think what was right, I've always been very conservative in this area. A lot of things that we just can't do.
Notice that it's become a bigger, part of our system and our budget over the years. So I think, have that trend to kind of put it in perspective on kind of how far we've come, people these years and what might place that in the future too.
And actually, this evening, I sent the school committee our criteria for our programs because they're growing and they're changing. So I
Yeah.
wanted you guys to have the ability to see the difference in the programs
Okay,
and what's really at each school.
thank you, that's helpful.
No problem.
We don't live this up 30 days.
Absolutely.
We live this up 30 days, we keep up with.
Always have to be good info.
Thank you again. Mr. Romano is next. He's got 2 things on the docket. The first is some discussion on credit requirements at Douglas High School, as well as some surplus equipment at Douglas High School.
Hello, so there is a package that you have, this is Douglas High School graduation requirements. There's some stuff in there that will kind of illustrate the stuff I'm going to talk about. So shortly after the override, Mr. Maine sent out to all the principals a slogan, it said, and it said, today's a great day to stop embracing the status quo. And I love slogans, I'm in the Army, Army of One, and Army Strong, and I joined when it was Be All You Could Be. So I like slogans, and what I think he means by that is that the town has taken this step to invest in the schools. And they need to see a return on that investment. They need to see the concrete product that's going to come from that investment. And I think that this is one of them, to raise our graduation requirements. And we couldn't have done this before because we didn't have the financial stability. You can't require kids to take courses if you don't know if you're going to have the staff to offer those courses. And so this is sort of a thing that we've wanted to do for a while, and we finally have the stability, I think, to enact this. And so what I'm going to propose is that over the next 2 years, we raise our graduation requirements to meet what are called the Mass Core standards. And the Mass Core standards, they're defined in your packet there. They represent a standard for graduation expectations, like a common standard for all schools in Massachusetts of what a good set of graduation requirements would be. They also represent that career and college readiness mindset. They are literally the requirements to get into a Massachusetts state college. So to get into UMass Amherst, to get into Salem State, to get into Worcester State. These are the courses that are required for a student to have. It's also a DESE tracked statistic, and it's frequently referenced in ES accreditation reports. It's a way that they measure that your curriculum and your program of studies measures up to a level of rigor. So I ran local district Mass Core rates. There's a couple schools, these are the 11 schools in the valley. There's a couple that are 100%. We are a little under 41. And
Can I interrupt and ask you to click the button twice?
oh, geez, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I put that over.
Okay.
All right, the numbers don't look, they're a little bit out of order there, but so Northbridge and BBC, that basically Mass Core are their graduation requirements. And what I think Blackstone Millville is that they have, in some of those schools that are in the 90s, I think what they have is they have all the requirements, and then they have waivers for certain foreign language requirements for some students who have
So does this mean that 40.6% of our students meet the Mass Core requirements?
Yes.
That 100% get 40% of the way. It's not that, right?
No, it's not that. No, it's
What if we
that
only get 100% of the way?
40.6% of our students
Yeah.
get 100% of the way to those
Okay.
graduation requirements. So, and I know that we can do a lot better. So to do that, the Mass Core versus DHS graduation requirements. Again, it didn't really line up 100% well. So on the left are the Mass Core requirements, on the right are the DHS graduation requirements. So they require 4 years of English, we got that. 4 years of math, we got that. 3 years of science, we have that. History, we actually do more. We do 4 years versus the 3 years, but I think that that's probably going to change anyway with the new curriculum frameworks. We really need to have that 4th year, that government year that we offer here as well, so that really needs to stay. Foreign language is one of the things that we're missing. So we haven't required foreign language because that's been one of the areas that's been cut over the years. With this stability, I think that we can require it. Over 80% of our students already do at least 2 years of foreign language. In fact, it's close to 85. So we're most of the way to that one already. And it is 2 years of foreign language in the same language, 2 years of Spanish, 2 years of French. The middle school year, college would count it. I don't know that it actually counts in your Mass Core graduation requirements, or Mass Core count. Phys Ed, 4 years, we're fine. The arts, and what that means is performing arts, visual arts, music, stage, craft, things like that. We don't have a requirement for that, and I think that that's the one that's really kind of putting a bite into our meeting that. So that's kind of where we compare versus the Mass Core requirements. It's the foreign language and the arts that we're missing. So what I would propose is that starting with this year's freshman class, the class of 2022, that class will have to complete 2 years of foreign language to graduate from Douglas High School. Again, we're already hitting about 85% of our students meeting that mark, so I don't think that that's a long stretch to get the other 15% of the students there. And with some of the other services that we can do, having the peer tutoring and things like that, I think we have some of the things that they'll need to bump them up, so co-teaching and other things that we're looking at. I think that we can get every student to that requirement. And then with the class of 2023, which would be next year's freshmen, this year's 8th grade, to add that arts requirement, and I put initially maybe drop the tech requirement, but I think that we can keep that. I think there's enough room in the student schedules to keep the tech requirement, and I think that if we're looking at having students college and career ready in 2023 and beyond, some technology literacy is something that they're going to need. So I would say that we would actually keep that, but add that arts requirement, which would probably be like a survey art course. It can be music, it can be, they won't count robotics, but there are some other sort of computer-assisted drawing things that will count as well that we can do. At that point, we would have the graduation requirements would meet the Mass Core requirements, so we could be at that 100% like some of the other schools in the Valley. And all I really need is to be able to keep what I have. I'm not looking for a huge investment, but again, it's this stability of knowing that the team that I have, I'm going to be able to keep them most likely for the next few years that makes this possible. So this is sort of the tangible result of having that investment that the community made. It would be helpful to have an additional part-time health PE teacher because that would allow me to add in those other arts requirements that I need.
So how does it help PE teacher out with the arts requirement?
Because right now I have, one of my art teachers teaches to a health class in the health elective,
Okay,
and my consumer science teacher teaches health as well.
okay.
So if they were doing visual arts and culinary arts, it's more options for students to be able to take those art courses. And I can offer, at that point, that my art teacher can offer courses that are for students who are serious about pursuing art, to prepare a portfolio for art college and things like that, and have that sort of, hey, I like to draw, so I can do this elective and meet that requirement. So that's how the health teacher kind of helps with that. Instead of having art teachers teaching health, my art teacher will be teaching art.
So under keep what you have, so 3.5, so what you have now is 3.5 full-time.
Mhm.
Okay, so I read that was need, keep what you
Oh,
have,
no, no,
plus
no.
get more
I'm sorry.
3.5 more
That's
teachers.
not what I meant.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't need 3.5 more foreign language.
Seems like a
If you
bullet
want
or a goal or
to,
something.
I take them.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, if I can keep what I have, I can do this. So I guess what I'm looking for tonight would be if this is something that we can move forward with. It was put into the program of studies and presented to this year's incoming freshmen that this was a possibility that we were going to move ahead with this. So it's in the program of studies. It said there were 2 sets of graduation requirements for this year's 10th, 11th, 12th grade and this year's freshmen, if pending approval of the school committee to raise these graduation requirements. So
Now, for foreign language, are we basically just talking Spanish?
right now we're just talking Spanish. Yeah. French. popularity of French has waned. And I saw the same thing happen in Mr. Mays. We saw the same thing happen with Latin 15 years ago. The kids stuff, they go with their feet. We do have options through virtual high school, and it's called C-Engage, I think is what it's called. Some virtual courses that kids can take if they're interested in other foreign languages. So one of the virtual companies, they actually specialize in doing foreign language. So if a student wants to take French, they want to take Italian, they want to, whatever they want to take. The option will still be there, it would just be sort of up to a distance learning.
Just a couple of things, and I think Josh has done a really good job of explaining it. If you recall, we reduced a 1.0 health teacher 4 or 5 years ago, and it's never come back. So when that happened, the individual actually retired, and we just didn't replace the position, and we had to parse out people who had that certification to pick up health classes, which took people away from teaching art classes and failing consumer science classes, and that was why we never went forward. The foreign language discussion, there was a committee called PAC, I believe it was called, and this was brought before them. It was my first year here, so that's 9-10 years ago. We had proposed that we make world language a requirement. Most every school, high school in the state has that as a requirement. It was voted down. At that time, we did have French and we did have Spanish, but it was voted down because it was felt that we had already had a lot of requirements. Adding one more requirement might pull kids away from electives, and our electives weren't that highly enrolled as well. So we were in a small school. If some kids, like Josh said, with their feet moved over to here, we don't have the students to go into that class. So we wanted to change, and we wanted to bring this forward and make this a mandate years and years and years ago. And then as we had the downturn in the budget, we just could not make it happen because we were just trying to hang on to our world language teachers. I think my first and second year here, I think we had, of course the 8th grade was still here, but I believe we had four Spanish teachers and 2 French teachers. Now we're at 3. And so another shoe that drops with this is that it really ties into the middle school as well, because there are students who are going to be waived out of it because they may have learning shortcomings that make it impossible for them to take the world language. And they'll get waived if they want to apply to college and so forth, and that works. But what we need to do is we need to come up with a different track for those students who might not be looking to do 3-4 years, if you include the middle school, 5 years in the language, and want to get to AP Spanish. We added culture and conversation and culture is the actual designation. So you have that course that's more geared towards the cultures of the Spanish nations and Spanish-speaking nations, as well as the conversation, so that it's not geared towards the real fluency, the grammar of it all. It's more of a explore type of program. So to do that, and that's why I think the 0.5 that Josh has up there is that you're going to need probably some additional staffing to meet that requirement, because with what you have right now, you're fully subscribed with your teachers right now, and that's at 85% of your students taking it. So you're going to need additional staffing to meet that need, albeit maybe a 0.5 or at the most a 1.0. It is not a significant amount of money, but we have run into this over a period of time. NASCOR and your compliance with NASCOR also impacts the state and how they see you as regards to level of school. So it's one of those components, and that's one of the things that has always been a problem for us, and why I think we remain at a level 2, is because we can't get kids into arts, into the world languages to meet that requirement. So I think we've all known all along that requiring world language in 2018 is not really far-fetched. It makes pretty good sense. But again, it has been sort of impacted by, I shouldn't say sort of, it has been impacted. And as Josh said, quite eloquently as well, the community has responded, And this is the opportunity for us to continue to move the district forward, and this is a good start.
So just to clarify, would eighth grade Spanish count as one of those 2 years, or is it 2 years at the high school?
I would want 2 years at the high school. A college will look at a transcript and see that a student took Spanish 2 and say, okay, this is good to go. I would actually want 2 years at the high school so that our students are largely graduating in Spanish. They're all taking Spanish one but middle school.
We're a pretty high percentage of students that already meet that requirement.
We are,
Of
yeah.
1 year in eighth grade, but then 2 years at the high school. And that's usually when they make some decisions, whether they want to stay with Spanish or go into an elective and so forth. So it's usually, the 2 years I don't think is necessarily unreasonable, and we'll still have kids who will go all the way up to AP, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we'll still be offering a Spanish 5 and AP, as separate courses too. So some options for that level. So we actually have a number of those Spanish 4, Spanish 5, Spanish 4 honors that we're offering this year anyway. I think it's probably 5 sections of those anyway. So you go a lot of kids, kids who are taking foreign language, they're going all the way. A lot of them, so.
In the arts, I should also mention that we have tried to bring in some different art classes. We tried to do ceramics, we did do sculpturing recently, and Amy's been good at just sort of
Going with the flow and
trying to
meeting everybody's needs.
teach 3 things at one time. But if you make this a requirement, you're going to see more students who are going to want to go into those, and it will help to populate those classes. And at one point, I think the intention was to have 2 art teachers, because interestingly, there's 2 art groups. So originally, that was the thought, was that there was going to be 2 art teachers in this building. Since I've been here, there's not been 2 art teachers. I don't know if there ever was prior to me arriving, but again, Amy has been teaching a couple of health classes, family life class, only because we had to try to meet those needs, and she had a certification. So ideally, we'd like to keep them in their area specialists.
So, all makes perfect sense to me. So I guess the ask is for us to approve the graduation requirements. But the only hesitation I have is that, I can look at this year's budget and say, yeah, we've got this year's budget. I feel comfortable looking at FY20 budget and saying, yeah, we'll find a way to, make foreign languages work in FY20. Even with the override, I have no idea, can we promise FY21 and 22 and 23 these things? And what happens when we make this requirement now, and we get to 21, and we can't afford to keep all the language teachers we have? Do we just change our requirements again at that point and say, yeah, well, guys, things changed, and
Could, but even there though, that's sending a concrete message to the town that
Yeah.
people are not being supported. We have to drop these
Right.
things, and it kind of shows. I think that one of the problems that the schools have, we've managed the cuts so well, people don't see that impact.
Yeah.
And, they don't notice that. Well, there's no foreign language requirement at the high school. So nothing's been taken away. It's just
Right.
something that's not offered. I think
it's a good way to put it.
it does sort of, I don't say pressure, but it does sort of show concretely the impact that the budget can have on schools.
Yeah. No, I think
And
it's
if
a
we need to,
big
it's something
personally.
to do with it.
Yeah, and I think it came out perfect, I'd look at first to make cuts out of other places anyways, but, I don't know what they would be, but,
Well,
so-
I think we've had some pretty good experience at what they're going to be. But to go to your point, a really solid point, which is the same as trying to bring in other courses in the sciences, other courses, the animal and plant science thing. All of these things are going to move the district forward. And we know that they are always going to be in jeopardy with funding. But if we can marry the commitment that the public has made, the taxpayers have made, with the commitment we're making to provide the most competitive and the best offerings that we possibly can, the hope is that we'll find a way to continue to make these, because they're going to see the value in them. What he's always said, value added.
I think
You're going to see value in that.
Josh very well, again, this is something that you're investing in, that, will give you return on, the financial reprieve that we've got.
And I believe the public wants us to do this. I think they want us to move forward. That's what they said when they voted for it. They support the idea of continuing to make us as strong as the district.
So So with approving the graduation requirements, are we approving at a 0.5 higher than the
No,
teacher? Or is that a
I would say
separate?
you're just,
later on?
I would say you're just approving the graduation requirements right now, and then we'll look at the staffing needs later.
Okay. Thank you.
So if, I don't know, if you want to.
Ask a question, Josh, have we had opportunity to present to parents on this?
No, not yet.
Would it be prudent to maybe,
I'll send out something to the freshman class.
when we take this vote, to make sure that...
It was in the program of studies, it was in the presentations, it was in those things, but
Just didn't want to further.
Because I did hear about it, becoming a freshman.
Okay, so if it's, I mean, I just want to make sure the message is there, that nobody's going to come back and say to us that they weren't aware. So if you're comfortable with the
I am.
amount of information that's been shared.
I am, yes.
Good, okay.
Well, I think that, this page here speaks volumes. You know, when I saw this, I was kind of not expecting that at all. So I think that this really kind of grates on me and thinking that we don't really have a choice at this point. We should be at 100% as far as I'm concerned. We give the kids in this district a very good education, and seeing this like makes me feel like,
We're just missing that small piece.
Right.
We're missing that arts piece is really
Yeah.
what we're missing. And a handful of kids in foreign language. So, you know, in a class of 90, if 85% of them have that foreign language, it's 85 kids that do. It's only about 10 that don't, so.
So you know, requiring, the foreign language requirement gets up to, say, roughly 55%, and then the arts component is the other 45% that we're.
I would say, yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at the high school in the arts, so you have Alden Long, who does a choral and music composition class. The night band would count for them as well, if they've done it over a number of years. 1 year, it's a quarter course in essence, so it really would be required a little bit more of a commitment. But beyond that, besides the art classes, we don't have a great deal of stuff to offer them at this point. That's going to be incumbent upon us to get, that's why the teaching assignments is so important, is to have things that they can get into. And I know Al has been looking, right now, for example, Al Delancourt does TV production, which could be construed as an art class. I don't know if it has been, I don't think it has been, but I really should be considered.
We've only
Because there's a
looked
lot
at
of
it as
digital
a-
design in that as well. So.
Right, I think we've only looked at it as whether or not it counts as a tech graduation requirement. So like I've had these conversations, I started to call at DSE, who's like their mass core expert.
Right.
And because I called them to see if like robotics called, it doesn't. And I said, but they're building a robot. And
Right.
they said, well, done, nice try. But,
Right.
but calling it
I'd
a-
be curious to find out about whether they're counting on TV production or not, which should be.
I think you should too, because stagecraft counts.
Right.
If you're teaching kids how to do theater, build scenery, and block stage, a play production,
Right.
that class counts as a arts requirement. So,
So there are things that we can do, but it does require getting those teachers from teaching what they are not in their primary component.
I guess from what you said on this last page, and I'm holding you to it, you keep from what you have.
if I can keep what I have, I can get us.
You
close
can
to
do
there.
this.
With
If I can get that.
with some modest additional
So he's
positions.
sure, from us that we're gonna do what we can to help him keep what he has. So, I'm on board for that.
We need new toys, I just need the nice ones I already have.
So what do we need to do? Make a motion to
Approve the,
Douglas High
Adjusted.
School graduation requirements as proposed?
sounds like a motion, yeah. We have a motion from Julie to approve the graduation requirements as presented, and a second from Kelly. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay, and then Josh, you also have some surplus desks.
I do, so speaking of investments, do you remember the cute little robots that Cindy Socha brought?
Yes.
When we did when Scott was playing with them?
Yes, these are bigger ones.
So the other thing that we did with the override money is we invested in some robotics kits. And they came in last week, so they're sort of the evolved version of the cute little ones that Cindy had. They're not nearly as cute, but they can do a lot of things. And, but one of the things that you need is you need a place for them to work on them. And so we had 3 computer labs here from way back in the olden days when the school was built and you still use desktop computers. And now we do this one-for-one program, and I needed a space to have a robotics lab because so they can do their, they don't have them fight, but they have them do obstacle courses and things like that. They, they'll set like a search and rescue course, and the robot has to
They can
do that, things like that. Yeah, basketball games, we all the things that they do with them. So I needed some space, and so what I did was we had some pretty banged up computer desks. So the tops are chipping off or peeling off. Some of the legs were damaged on them, some of the connecting pieces. So I had the custodians, they kind of cobbled together from some that were still in good shape, and they repaired pieces using pieces from other ones. And what that left us with were 7 that they're in pretty bad shape. And I did sort of try to see if we could maybe use them someplace else in the district, but they're really in pretty rough shape. So what I'm proposing is that we consider those excess property and we remove them from the books, and then we'll figure out how to dispose of them. I talked to Mr. Collette about some options we can do with disposing of them. But what it basically does is one of those rooms will have an empty spot, basically, a big empty space for those robots to do their thing, while still keeping a few of them as workstations for the students to do the programming in the building.
The desks that Josh is talking about were for computers at one point, and as he said, that we're not using the desktops anymore. They're made out of Formica. The Formica is and so at the time, the last 2 years, I don't believe there's been any computers in the computer desks in that computer lab. So it's really become sort of obsolete. The Formica is dangerous because it's pretty sharp and you cut your hands on it and so forth. But
And there's the glass panel in the middle too. It's just like they're not even really good as desks and tables per se. So.
Good night. Questions? Discussion?
Sure. So I move to approve the disposal of 7 damaged computer desks at the high school.
Kelly? Second from Jillian.
Lisa.
I'm sorry, second from Lisa. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, we'll see.
You can play with our robots too. You keep telling me we don't use them for that.
Okay, we are now moving on to School Business and Operation Act. This is my day. We're sure. School Business and Operation Manual.
Okay, so I provided with each of you, I provided to each of you a folder, and everything should be in order that I'm going to go through them. So as we have every year after we close the book, of course, we have to do the transfers and reclasses. But first I want to thank Helen Stan, my assistant, and Stacy Bourgeois, our bookkeeper, for all of their hard work closing out the encumbrances and balancing, reconciling, accounts payable, closing purchase orders, and it's a lot of work. And also Jean Lovett, the town accountant finance director, and all of her work reconciling with us and working, it's a lot of entries doing the, especially the transfers for both of us, my preparing them, her entering them, and also working on preparing the final year-end balance report and going over that. So made it through and everything's all balanced. So first I have for you the year-end reclassifications. That's when we transfer from school choice back to the general fund, bring the general fund down to 0. So that's all. And these have already been posted because Jean and I wouldn't know about anything unless she actually puts them in. So we've done that, and that came to a total of $253,616.58. So that's what was left that we had to bring the general fund down to 0. And you'll see that later on in the fund balance report. Next one down are some reclasses we had to do before we got to doing everything else, pre-closing the books, closing the books. And those are some reclassifications going from the teacher quality grant back to general fund. Because it was a little mathematical error there, and we didn't have funds that we thought we had. So it kind of went back and forth. The next one down is the FY 2018 year-end general fund transfers. No sense in calling, I guess, number one, because if this is it, we wouldn't want any more than one of these. It's like, I think it's 562 entries, so that's enough. The most daunting thing that I do in posting the book, so, and of course, this has all been posted, we ran the report, everything balances to the penny, you'll see that coming next. So that's basically just moving all the money around. It's not something that we actually have to do. So Gina and I are a little bit weird this way, where I just cannot have a report that has minuses and plus, it just doesn't work for us, so. And to the next one down, you see that nice clean report with all the zeros at the end. So I also provided to you the final FY 2018 general fund budget report. That's for the year end, is June 30th, 2018. This is with all of the reclasses, transfers, and if you go to the last page, because unfortunately in Munis, it mixes in with the bottom line number. I don't know if you're aware of this, Lisa Brown, but in the bottom line in any Munis reports I provide to you, the total general fund always includes the darn transportation, so I always have to back that out manually, so that's why I have that down here. So the $333,459.60 is left in the transportation account, and of course, that's a separately voted warrant article that just gets closed out by the town, but everything else is brought down to zero. But what you will see here that I end up having to do manually is for the operating budget, you'll see the final numbers for our original appropriation. We did receive an additional $16,640 during the year. Our revised budget was $12,889,337 even. And we did expend $12,549,170.64. And we have encumbrances that are part of, you know, the overall bringing it down to zero, because it will be spent, $340,166.36. And that's both payroll and things that, you know, as a close-up, we're waiting for invoices, but remember that people are paid over the summertime as well. So for payroll, so it brings the budget down to zero after all those transfers and classes are done. But at least you'll see the final numbers for what we expended, and you also have a report where you can, if you're having trouble sleeping at night, take a look at each line and see, you know, what was expended and moved around and everything else during the general fund budget. So if you, of course, at any time, if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Certainly if you have any questions now as well. But if later on, if you're looking at things, especially Kelly and Lisa, if you have any questions about anything, like why we do what we do or whatever, just, you know, shoot me an email, stop by, I'll be happy to go over anything with you. The next one is the FY 2018 School Department Fund Balance Report. At the top, we have a summary of what I just spoke to you about regarding the operating budget, the transportation budget. Underneath that, we have the revolving funds. And as you can see, our largest ones at the top are, of course, the school choice and circuit breaker. So we have some good fund balances there for year end. And you'll see in the comments section on 2 or 3 of them, we're really supposed to be on a modified accrual basis, but it's done by the town accountant on a cash basis. So we have to put the encumbrance on the outside line there. So I actually have to have that for my DESE report as well. So there will be an additional $15,581.80, for instance, in payroll hitting the school choice.
So that balance.
Coming out of that
will come
balance.
down. Okay.
You know, the
Yes.
modified accrual basis. And I also have to include that on the DESE report within the FY 18. So those accounts are good, have good healthy balances. And again, you know, as we meet, you know, during the year with our budget subcommittee and, you know, us looking at things during the year, Neil and Kevin and I meeting with regard to special ed, you know, we do look very carefully at these balances. And as you recall, Brett, we were discussing the plight that we had, you know, before the override. You know, we're really struggling with, you know, maintaining a good balance going prospectively, but also trying not to decimate the school district. So we're very appreciative of getting the override, and that assisted a great deal with being able to maintain what we had originally in our budget for the most part, and also we have some good balances for going forward. Because again, we can't just look at one year when it comes to it, particularly the school choice account. We need to look prospectively because we never know what's going to happen with the finances. So I think those are 2 good, healthy fund balances right there.
Yeah, so.
Not overly so in any way, you know.
Under the receipts for these are the receipts that we received during the FY 18 time period,
That is correct,
So
that
the
is correct.
747, 271 in school choice receipts, we received that probably last,
Yes.
whenever,
Four quarterly payments, and we
Oh,
actually
some quarterly
receive an
payments,
additional
okay.
amount at the end. We don't get that until
Okay.
right before the close of the fiscal year, so we didn't even know that we were getting a little bit of an additional amount as well.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. And sometimes that's a sped increment is what it's called.
Yeah.
We might not necessarily know what we're going to be getting for special ed, for school choice students that are special ed, so. The circuit breaker is pretty much exactly what we expected, so.
Seeing that made me feel more comfortable that we can support Mr. Romano's graduation.
With the preschool, we have a balance, fund balance of $44,116.07, and for the first year, which is good, we don't have any encumbrances, which is good. And you'll see my, some history trend analysis coming up for both preschool and school lunch. Those are large accounts, and they're also programs, so I like to keep an eye on the trend with those. And you'll see with preschool, $44,116.07, if you look at the bottom, $51,155.11. Both of those accounts have really resurrected from the way where they were last couple of years. With preschool, as you know, one of the main reasons is Mrs. Sosha brought to the school committee a program to expand on the preschool. That has worked out very well, and we did that without any additional general education staff. Sometimes you will see some additional, of course, some special education staff, and that's fine. But with regard to regular ed, we've been able to accommodate it. It's been working out very well. Parents are very happy with it, so very pleased with that as well. The high school athletic program, we had just a very small balance there. Douglas Middle School, very small. I'll say about the athletic programs, as you know, it's been extremely difficult the last 3 years especially. Each year has been a completely different types of funding sources. So it was mostly general fund and just a little bit for a revolving fund fees to offset transportation for many, many years. And then, of course, we had the fiscal woes. And then we had, combination of donations in revolving fund, in general fund, and then we couldn't support any general fund at all. And as we've said numerous times, donations from the whole program, which cannot do that a second time. That was an enormous effort to do that. But we held our own, with just the fees and general fund for FY18. We do have some small balances.
Are we talking about?
I'm just going down the line.
Oh, that, okay.
Same-
So we went
same
back there.
thing.
I was looking through
See, you're so
the
excited
details.
about all those other things, right? You just.
No, I thought, because we were kind of talking about it in the same order, so.
No, I said I was gonna
Okay,
go off
sorry.
those in a
I-
little
I
bit.
jumped
That's
over.
okay.
My bad, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
But we held our own there.
Yeah.
Extended day, that actually is an account that I actually have to do a little bit of work on. So that's a balance just left in there. It's gonna be usually, particularly the same balance pretty much as what we have in there. That's an account that Jean and I are working on. Facilities rental, most of what goes in there during the year are the Whiten Community payments of $6,500 for their rental for the before and after school program. We do have a little bit of a balance there. We do have some ideas of utilizing those funds for their intended purpose. Lost books, we just have a little balance here. It's also, Master-in-Law was changed 2 years ago to accommodate iPads and Chromebooks, which is fantastic. So any repairs, monies we get in from parents, we can use for repairs and things of that nature. That was a big issue before. That's going to be solved. A little bit of balance left in DES chorus. Middle school band and chorus, we have a little bit of a balance still there. It was left over from last year. In the after-school program, we have a little bit of a balance. Typically with those types of programs, there's no reason to have an exorbitant balance. We just have a little bit of a balance there, which is good. So basically, the revenues coming into that program are meeting the expenditures. And again, I always spoke about school lunch, that's looking great. Donations, we have a little bit left in miscellaneous donations and some funds there for both middle school and high school athletics, which we will utilize in FY18. The middle school, we actually would have gone in the red if we didn't receive the $7,500 donation that you see there. So again, as you know, it's been very precarious. We've been trying to hold our own, but through the efforts of Paul Smith, he did get this donation, which was fabulous, and so we have a good fund balance there, a little bit of a fund balance
So
there.
that was a like boosters donation or separate?
No, it was a private donation. Yep, so that was excellent work on behalf of Paul Smith. So the next page is grants, FY17 prior year grants, you can see the balances there. FY18, some small balances there. Just want to let you know with regard to Title I and Title IIA teacher quality, those are 2-year grants. So Mrs. Socia will look at kind of over a 2-year basis. Sometimes she'll withhold some funds if she feels she needs them for things such as mentors or professional development in subsequent year. And also all of the grants, for the most part, grants have been decreasing, as you know. We've lost, I think, 3 or 4 over the past 4 years. And they are decreasing too, even the Title I, Title IIA. The special ed has gone up a little bit, the 240 grant, but not much. So nothing really much to say about grants there. And then I have the information on student activity funds for all of the schools. And don't be concerned with the middle school negative balance. There were deposits in transit, certainly to cover that. Just came in right after June 30th. Anybody have any questions on those? And again, you can look at them, you know, when you have more time. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Next one is my financial history trend on the preschool program. And you will see, you know, just by looking at this, if you go down to the ending revolving fund balance of the 44,000 and look over the years, it has its ebbs and flows. You know, and you can see that also with the students, the number of students and student enrollment has gone up since we implemented that new program. So that was really a good move. You can see where we used to have some good fund balances, we've had quite a bit more in enrollment. So Mrs. Socia actually making that proposal and accommodating not only the parents were very happy, but it also was a wonderful thing for the students as well, but also for the fund balance and to maintain the program. So that worked out very well there. The next one is the school lunch financial historical trend. And again, if you look at the not so much particularly the ending fund balance, but if you look at the past, the revenue over expenditures line, I always include that because it's really very important to know if your revenues are meeting expenditures, not just looking at fund balance. Because if you know if they don't, and you don't have a line, you're not monitoring that, your fund balance will be depleted very quickly without actually looking at that. So you can see that, you know, we're kind of recouping on the revenue over expenditures there, which is very good. There's a lot of information there, so you'd have to take some time to take a look at it. But I try to put a lot of trend information, because if you have it written down, you can monitor things and see where you can maybe there's some things that you may need to look at. For instance, participation and things of that nature. You know, so next one is school choice revolving financial trend history from all the way back to 2008 through 2019 projected. I do the projected for both school choice and circuit breaker because we know it has a great impact on the general fund, because we've already voted to utilize a certain amount of each of these accounts for that. So you can see the balances there. We also put contingency lines in these two accounts as well. For instance, 250,000 we just keep there in contingency in the school choice, but you can still see we have a very good balance there. And we did speak about particularly waiting until we close the books and taking a look at the school choice in particular to see, there were a few things that we have on our list that great needs, 2 in particular. But I had to be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to even meet with Mr. Maines about any of the financials here, so. But the 2, if you don't mind, because we did already bring them up in the past, one of them was, of course, looking at the paraprofessionals.
So, right.
Wait,
No, and I
hourly
appreciate you bringing that up.
rates, and also the other one was on something extreme, as some technology needs that, you know, it just doesn't seem like we're gonna get anything, you know, in the future from capital funding probably, so those are just 2 of the big areas. And never mind if there's a bunch of other things kind of hanging off the branches of the big oak tree, so.
We went back to our last, when we approved the adjustment concepts. Is that the intention of that coming out of school choice, or we can accommodate the adjustment concepts?
Oh, those were accommodated within the budget.
Right.
Yes, those were. Yeah. And if you recall, that was partially from the additional funds coming back to us from the override, but also under Mr. Maine's leadership, you know, it was great that, again, reiterate it. We looked again at some of the cuts that we made, we didn't just automatically just bring everything back. We took a really hard look as a leadership team to say, what do we really want more than something else, and then made some hard choices.
Right.
So
Needed it
far-
all, but we prioritized it, correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe we can discuss in our next budget subcommittee, but I want to get a better way to kind of help keep track of this. Just, what was our original approved budget? What ads do we make either out of additional circuit breaker or out of school choice?
It's all in the budget.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
just from like changes that we make throughout the year and be able to
Oh,
track those
throughout
and
the
show
year,
those
okay.
on a
Because
single
those
page
have
to say,
all been accounted for.
here's where we started, as of
Yeah.
June 30th, this is what we thought we were doing, right?
Yeah.
And then we made some changes here, we made some changes here, and now here's where we are now. This will show some bridge throughout the year. We can talk about it in more detail at our budget.
Yeah, yeah.
But so the additions earlier this summer, we're all covering general budget,
Mm-hmm.
general fund budget. The additions tonight, all covered through circuit breaker,
Circuit breaker,
not necessarily reflected here yet, or are
Fine.
even reflected. I'm assuming that's not reflected.
No,
in-
because I would never
Okay, no,
assume
just want to make sure.
voting.
Okay. Okay, so really the only thing that
Yeah.
we committed above and beyond the original general fund budget is what we committed to tonight.
That's correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah. And the next one is the circuit breaker, which we kind of went over earlier when we were talking about the additional. So what I do on these is I'll add, like I did last year, I'll put a line here saying the date, school committee, the positions, and then I'll put another line over here,
Yeah.
you know. That's how I try to show it here. Circuit breaker and school choice. Say we, I'm not saying that we are, just as an example. Say for school choice, we approved an additional teaching position or something. I always put it on here so we track it. You can see it there as well.
You talked about a hot tub, but that's not good.
No, I would not allow that. So does anyone have any questions? That's a lot.
So you need approvals on the transfers?
We do need approvals on the two reclasses, the reclassification number 2 and 3, and then the year-end general fund transfers number 1. And then we'll have the signatures after.
So reclass number 2 is,
That's it.
sorry, yeah, the small one,
Mhm.
that's going from where to where? That's a
Going from grant back to the general fund.
grant back to general fund, okay. Number 3, that's going from
Well, those are all from school choice to general fund.
school choice general fund.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then let's do those two first, okay.
Alright, so you want to do these two first?
Yes, please.
Can I do them both together or separate?
I'm okay with you.
Alright, I gotta think for a second.
Or do them
Oh, it's the usual way you vote, it's no different than.
I know, I'm
we're
just,
all,
that
oh,
was
okay.
just like, I'm
That's
having
nothing
to
special.
crowd it over here. I'll make a motion to approve the FY 2018 year-end reclass number 2 and number 3 at the school committee meeting August 15th, 2018.
Motion from Jillian. Second from Lisa. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
What's the
Okay.
other one we need?
And then
So this is general fund transfers. Okay, so can you explain this one again? This is coming, just moving money within the general fund.
Yeah,
to
all-
different
just to bring-
accounts,
just to
bring
bring-
all the different accounts to zero.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so that it's a nice and clean looking. A lot of people don't do it, but
Want to try it, Kelly?
So, yeah, it's-
Alright,
I
I
move
move passes.
to approve the FY 2018 year-end general fund transfers, number 1. School committee meeting, August 15th, 2018.
Motion from Kelly, but second. Second from Lisa. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes.
well, thank you very much. Oof, all done.
Good job, Claudia.
Next week I'll bring the FY 19.
If I could jump in and thank Courtney and the office staff
Yeah.
for a lot of information here. This is really good stuff, and she goes above and beyond and provides as much detail as possible. certainly is appreciated, so thank you very much, Courtney, and also the staff.
I do read them. It's my favorite part of the year.
Just one other thing I wanted to mention, just real quickly, I was thinking about it as we were looking at the monies, and I realized that we talked about a lot of new hires over the last two meetings,
Yeah.
but I don't want the public to be of the mindset that those are all new positions. Those are people, some positions where people have retired, have left the
Oh,
district,
right,
and so
good
forth and so on.
Yeah.
Point.
So there's a lot of,
Yes.
a lot of those positions were replacements for people who have left the district or retired from the district.
Yeah, and that's why I think us having some kind of a bridge that we, because, you know,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
gonna
when
be
you said
folks
that,
we are
that's-
hiring.
that's what I was
above and
thinking, is
beyond,
is
yeah,
that-
so, yeah.
That the impression might be that we've just loaded up
Oh,
on
yeah,
these new
it's called
positions,
spending
when in
crazy,
reality,
yeah,
they
so.
really are not new
No.
positions at all. They
Yeah.
are, some are new, some under the adjustment councils are new, and there have been a few that have been new, but for the most
New
part,
positions, but they were elected, though.
Correct.
They were elected, so.
Absolutely.
Okay. Topics not anticipated. Anyone? Jillian?
No, the only thing I was gonna bring up, she already brought up
Yeah.
with the paraprofessionals that we discussed last.
Yeah, so can we cover that in our 9:15 meeting? Is that the appropriate time to kind of discuss that? And I know we wanted to meet as a, you know, I'm assuming we can meet as a budget subcommittee before that.
I think we can, over that, I think we can.
Yeah, good for you, we'll cover that.
Yeah.
Okay. So at least, we'll have time to meet the subcommittee. When's a good time for you guys to meet the subcommittee? Are you still by, after you get things, the doors open and stuff like that, so.
We're looking
second week
at
of
August
September?
27th as the start, so I mean, that first full week in September towards the end of that. Something to do.
We
First full
would
week.
have to, because we would have to have the agenda and the materials ready for the
15th.
way before the 15th, you know what I mean, the week before.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
are you
is
are
the
you
week
looking to
before.
move and make a decision at the meeting of the 15th? Is that what you're looking to do?
No, we'll at least discuss it then, yeah, so, yeah, but at least have something, I think it's something that we can discuss around what we want to present to this group around what the appropriate action we need to take.
I mean, I think we can, and maybe but I think Cookie's right, maybe we move it up a little bit earlier in that week, because we've already done
A lot of
a lot of conversation around this, and, you know, and I think that to be pragmatic, it might be incremental over maybe a couple of years, but, you know, we can do the whole thing in one fell swoop, as much as we both realize.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking,
Oh,
we decided to
yes,
just
yes.
discuss
Those
first.
questions need,
Absolutely, absolutely.
it's the right thing to do, but.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely, yeah.
sometime before the 10th then, of September, we can meet as a subcommittee. And that'll give, yeah, I think you guys have already done most of the work.
Right, so
I keep
we
saying
need,
September 15th, that's not
Yeah.
right, September 12th? 12th.
Yeah, so we did 12 for the school committee meeting, or actually it's the 5th. 5th and the 19th, first and
Is that
the
for you?
3rd.
Next meeting.
Oh, so it would be the
It's the
19th
fifth and
then?
the 19th.
So I think you're looking at the
Okay.
19th, so,
Yeah, okay.
so in actuality, somewhere around 10, 11, and 12 would be ideal.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be
You want to
fine.
say for the 5th meeting, we'll thank you.
And do you guys mind for my presentation, do you mind the 19th? I just want to have some time to see kids.
That works.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Now, the other question is, I think that there may be a need, I don't think it'll be a long meeting, but there still are some things, some loose ends that we've discovered and that we might need to meet next week. Should we plan on meeting next week, even if it's short?
I can my implementing new classes and transfer that, just put that all 18 and 19.
Yeah.
So I just said, come next week.
That's the 22nd?
Yeah. It would be the 22nd, yes.
If it's short, I'll come.
Now I'm joking.
It's something they have to come from me, but you'll get a call on that, so.
Can you do that? Oh, wait a minute, that means who's running the meeting?
Oh.
Short one.
All right,
Then you
okay.
can sure
Just-
short
just-
one.
Just
Yeah.
write out what I
Yeah.
have to say in the beginning, I can never remember that.
Right.
Okay.
We'll help you.
So-
Plan for the 22nd.
Okay.
I'll ask Lauren to correct those invitations.
Just reclasses, or is there other topics that?
Well, it is going to be the last week, and who knows what's going to come through the door and what we need to figure out.
School choice decisions? Okay.
You never know. I hate to start, and I know that
Yeah, that's fine.
it seems like it happens every year, but
Yep.
I guess if history is a judge, then there's probably a likelihood we're going to need to meet, because it just always seems to be that way.
Okay.
But
Well, I
Where's the wood when I need it?
know.
Right here.
I was feeling pretty good, like,
All right, so we'll tentatively schedule for a meeting next, the 22nd of August at 7 o'clock.
Sure.
I'll do that.
Yes, you will. I will pick you up.
Okay, anything else? All right, motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion from Jillian, second. Second from Melissa, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.